You better pack a lunch and grab a coffee because we are in for the long haul, baby. Yes, this is my review of Blade Runner: The Final Cut. Blade Runner came out in 1982. It was directed by Ridley Scott and stars Harrison Ford as Rick Deckard, who is forced by the police force to continue his old job as a replicant hunter, also known as a Blade Runner. His assignment? Eliminate 4 escaped replicants from colonies who have returned to Earth. Before starting his job, Deckard goes to the Tyrell Corporation and meets Rachel, played by Sean Young, a replicant girl who he falls in love with. That is a very, very brief synopsis of a film that was so ahead of its time, both in set design, dark themes, questions about humanity, and the psychological complexity that comes with it. What Blade Runner means to me, it's one of the first films that I ever actually truly experienced and fell in love with both films and filmmaking. I get so emotional talking about the film because the impact that it had on my life, and it's very, very hard to be completely biased on a film that has shaped such a large part of my personality and passion. I remember watching Blade Runner on VHS, renting it when I was very young from a place called Video Easy, and never really understanding what the film was about. I never understood why Roy Batty was so angry, or why Deckard was trying to kill the people that were so nice to J.F. Sebastian. The film sounded and looked pretty, and it had Han Solo in it. Over the years, my appreciation for the sound and look of the film has grown exponentially. The amount of passion that went into this film in terms of production design, score, script, editing, tone and subtlety has made this movie not only at the very top of the list of my favourite films, but also what I feel is an absolute masterpiece. So now, with what the film means to me out of the way, let's get started on this review. Blade Runner was so ahead of its time, perhaps even too ahead of its time, flopping at the box office and slowly becoming a cult classic over the years, now being pretty much on every list of the best movies of all time. The first thing to marvel about this film is the way that it tells its story. There's no flashy action sequences, it doesn't pander to its audience, it has a story to tell, and it does tell its story in a very slow way that I feel people do feel that it's slow and do miss out on the great experience that multiple viewings has for the film. And upon multiple viewings, you can see that it's actually a very focused film. Blade Runner in script form alone is better than its source material, I personally feel. The acting is very nuanced, letting Harrison Ford take his time. I also find a lot of the character choices were that of realism. No one makes a choice with the pure intention of furthering the story. Sean Young shines in the role as Rachel, a replicant that doesn't actually know that it's a replicant. Rutger Hauer also plays Roy Batty, delivers this enviable performance, showing true humanity as an android. You can really feel his desperation in wanting more time to live and closing on one of the most heart-wrenching monologues of all time. Blade Runner was groundbreaking in production design and explored something that doesn't really get fully explored in films today, and that is its fantastic world building. You can feel the grubby nature of the walls, you can smell the dirty steam coming from the grates on the ground, and you can feel the rain dropping on your skin. There was an actor's strike when Blade Runner was to be made, and it gave the crew an extra 6 months to build these amazing sets, and it completely shows. Next up is the phenomenal score that was composed by Vangelis. This is a dark melodic score that is less soundtrack and more tone, perfectly encapsulating you into this noir future that Ridley Scott has perfectly set for you. I can't even begin to explain the sophistication and evocative nature that this music has. It takes you places, almost holding your hand and bringing you into this dark world. Every single track on this soundtrack is a beautiful piece of music on its own and is one of the most iconic film scores of all time. The cinematography by Jordan Cronenworth is incredibly fluid. Everything is so perfectly centered and it flows evenly from scene to scene. Roger Deakins definitely has huge shoes to fill, but for what I've seen from the trailers of Blade Runner 2049, he's done a tremendous job. If I was to go blind today, personally, I would feel more disappointed about the fact that I would never be able to watch this visual feast ever again. I think this film is one of the best examples of a classic that many understand or don't understand due to their own expectations of what this film is going to be. Now, if you go into this film expecting a sci-fi action film, you are going to be incredibly disappointed, as it's really a futurist slow film noir. If you've only seen it once, I highly recommend you going back and watch it again. What makes Blade Runner so unique is the fact that it's able to take film noir and meld it with science fiction and ask a lot of deep and heavy questions about humanity. Now, if you're not a fan of film noir or don't like slower films, you may not like it, but I do hope people get half the experience that this film gave to me. Thank you so much for watching my review of one of my favourite films of all time. Now, please let me know your experience with the film in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video and want to see more, please click here to see more. Thanks for watching. Bye.